Hey everyone, it's Jacob here with another 5-Minute Leader, still in Palm Beach, Florida. And today I wanted to talk about the intangibles. So I've been at a few events recently, speaking at a couple of conferences, and doing a couple intimate discussions with various business leaders. And one of the things that keeps coming up is this idea of intangibles. And this comes up especially when I talk to a lot of leaders who are saying that they have employees who want to get promoted. And so typically what happens inside of organizations is a lot of employees want to get access to training and development programs. And then as soon as they take those training programs and as soon as they take those courses, watch the videos, pass the tests, they assume that they're ready for a promotion. And we assume that we're ready for a promotion when we do that as well. And the challenge with that is it doesn't take into account all the intangibles that are required for leadership. So for example, you might watch videos on negotiation. You might watch videos on empathy. You might watch videos on how to motivate and inspire a team. And then when you walk away after watching those videos, you might say, okay, I learned those tactics, I learned those strategies, I'm ready for that next role. But there are a couple things that we need to remember when we're thinking about leadership roles. And number one is just because you learn something doesn't mean you know something. So there's still something to be said for putting the things that you learn into practice. That takes time. And then there's the question of a lot of the intangibles. So there are a lot of things related to leadership that you don't learn, that you can't watch in a video, that you can't take a class on. Things like executive presence. Things like what happens when you're confronted with a difficult challenge and how you respond. Things like dealing with a crisis, for example, and how you respond to that crisis. Things like not backstabbing employees, dealing with office politics and bureaucracy. There are a lot of these types of intangibles. Having integrity, like you're not going to take a class or watch a video on integrity. It's really about your moral compass and the decisions that you make and the things that you decide to take on and the things that you also say no to. So there's a lot of intangibles related to leadership that you can't necessarily learn by taking a class or watching a video or doing anything. It's just kind of experiencing and going through these things. And I mention this because I think there are some things that we can do to work on our intangibles, right? There are the tangibles that you can learn through those courses, but there are also things that you can do to work on these intangibles. So a couple of them include constantly getting feedback from your peers, from your employees, from your leaders about how you show up, about the decisions that you make, the actions that you take, the behaviors that you exhibit during the day. So you can get feedback on that from just one-on-one discussions. That's where you're going to learn a lot of the intangibles. Having a learning and a growth mindset is also very important. So this is especially relevant when you're confronted with obstacles and challenges and how you respond to those obstacles and challenges. Another way that you can learn the intangible is you keep putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. You take on roles that other people are scared of. This has been a recurring theme in a lot of the videos that I've done and also a lot of the CEOs and interviews that I've worked with and coached and advised. I keep hearing time and time again that these people got to where they are because they put themselves in uncomfortable situations. And one of the best ways that you can learn about your intangibles and the things that you excel in and struggle at is by putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation and how you respond to that. Are you ready for the challenge or are you not? So I think that's another great way that you can focus on those intangibles as well. So peers, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, having that kind of the learning, the growth mindset is also very, very important there too. So all of this is to say that when we think about leadership, whether it's for you or for your peers, it's very tempting to say that, and I used to be exactly like this early on in my career, back when I had a corporate full-time job, several corporate full-time jobs. I would always want to go through the training and development programs as quickly as possible, and then I would complete them and I would say, hey, I did those training and development programs, I'm ready for leadership. And my leaders at the time would look at me and be like, who the hell is this kid? Like, he just took a couple of videos and now he thinks he's ready to lead a team. So it does take time to put these things into practice. It does take time to wait for these intangibles to make themselves manifest, right? It's not like how you deal with an uncomfortable situation or a challenge or with a difficult employee. These things take time to manifest. It's not like you're going to show up tomorrow and all of a sudden all these things are going to come your way. It might take a year or 2 years before you're put into these situations, and how you deal with them is going to make a big difference. So whether you are a leader looking to get into a more senior leadership role, of course, work on those tangible things. Take those training programs, get the coaching, get the mentoring, but also understand that it does take time for you to practice these things and to develop and identify what those intangibles even are for you. And also, if you're leading someone and they're asking you, hey, I did all these things, how come I'm not getting promoted? It's important for you to communicate with them that yes, you did take these courses, you did learn these things, but it also is going to take time for you to exhibit and manifest these things at work, and for us to also identify what these intangibles are. Because there's nothing worse than putting somebody into a leadership role who has no business being there just because they watched some courses and videos. And looking back early on in my career, if I would have been put in a leadership role when I wanted to, it would have been a complete disaster, because I didn't have any of these tangibles, and it would have been just a complete mess. So remember, leadership is about the tangible aspects and also the intangible aspects. So have those conversations with your teams, with your leaders, try to identify what those intangibles are, and also what you can do to work on those intangibles. And once you get that down, then you will really start to have a much clearer picture of what it's going to take to get to the next level. So that's it for this episode of the 5-Minute Leader. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think. Does this resonate with you? How do you talk about intangibles inside of your organization? What are some potential intangibles that you can identify as well? And these are challenging because there's not always a criteria, a number around it, right? Like there's not a metric for executive presence. There's not a metric for how do you deal with difficult employees. There's not a metric for how you show up every day, and are you treating people well? Like there's not a lot of metrics for these things. It's just one of those things where you have to observe employees and see and be evaluated and be judged on those different criteria. So that's what makes it challenging, but it's also part of what makes leadership a lot of fun and exciting, because it's a lot of this human stuff behind it. So I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever in the world you are. That's it for this video from Palm Beach. Probably the next video I do will be back home in Los Angeles, unless I get inspired by something else while I'm here in Palm Beach. So I'll talk to all of you very soon. Have a wonderful day.